Welcome to Coached Soul, a podcast for a better you. Your host, Steve Hudgens, is a licensed professional counselor. On a non-emergency basis, you may contact them at area code 918-280-8690 or coachsoul.com to provide them with new topics, feedback, or to request an appearance on the show. And now, here's your host, Steve Hudgens.
Welcome back. What an exciting, there are no words, Kenya, for our podcast and an introduction to frequency. And welcome back.
So I really thank you, Steve, for having me back like today and as many days as God gives to us. It's all great. I really want to bring in the listeners to understand what's happening in my soul right now. About 3 years ago, I started a podcast, and if I cry, just hold space. Podcast for children. It was called Raising Leaders. And I have had so many interruptions, distortions, and I stopped. I think I did 2 or 3 episodes, and it has been in my heart for so long to have a podcast, and I have been overthinking. Is anyone out there knowing that you're supposed to be doing things and are overthinking?
All the time.
Oh, come on now. So when Steve comes to me and say, Kenaya, come co-host and, free microphone. My people want to hear about frequencies, just feel this is how I heard you saying, Steve. That might not be the words you use, but this is how I heard you saying, you have a microphone, we'll share this stage, and whatever the movement leads us, it's perfect. I felt a free invitation to be more of me with so much ease and grace that I told you I just need a few hours to be grounded and say yes. I'm saying that because that is my process. If you know in your heart that you're meant to do something, that you have not taken the first step, I wonder if the next step is right in front of you, and it will come to you as a divine invitation when your heart is open to it.
That's funny you mentioned that. I have a talent that started when I was in probably 6th, 7th grade. I've always enjoyed media. And I was a disc jockey for a radio station in Oklahoma City. I have written for newspapers. I was a yearbook editor from 9th to 11th grade while I was living in Japan on the base. And so I would never thought I would write. And here you and I are, authors. And maybe in another podcast, we'll talk about my new book.
Talk about your, yes.
The
cover
Journey.
Looks amazing.
Thank you. The Journey, Not the Destination. I'm hoping will come out towards the end of August. It may come out in 1st September. We'll talk about the book because I'm doing another book called Companion to the Journey, Not the Destination.
I love that.
And it plays into what we talked about this last podcast about identity. How do we find power? How do we embrace who we are as a person? Not in a negative way, but in a positive way. And as Kenya and I are learning about each other, because what we do is not rehearsed.
No.
This is 100% raw.
I don't even know the questions you're going to ask.
Right. And vice versa.
Yeah.
But we flow very well in the light. And that brings up a good subject about communication.
Yes.
And how we communicate with one another. And I don't know what feeling I felt, but there was a time that I put out the information about 400 words per minute that women use to beat themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked permission. You rewired what I said, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is a great dynamic to our podcast,
Mm-hmm.
that you and I can be able to have such a way with words and communication that it helps our listeners to not even hear what we're saying, the frequency that we're using, but also you and I are modeling a technique
Yeah.
of how to communicate effectively, even if we, as a husband and wife, even though you and I are not married.
But especially
Yes,
if you have a partner.
there you go.
Mm-hmm. No,
So, what
it
is it
happens
about
all
that?
yeah, so it happens all the time for me in my marriage, and you even saw him, a couple times here while we're talking. For me, is about always coming from a place of value. Oh, this is huge.
Mm,
Everyone around you is a mirror of some part of you. This is truth. This is scientific. It can also be woo if you feel that way. But there's something about you that person is resonating back to you, different parts of you. And I dare to say that the people that you don't quite like, they're resonating parts of you that you don't like about yourself.
true.
Those shadow parts that you don't want to really touch because it's painful or you're not ready to it, it's okay. See, Steve, the entirety of my work is that I come from a place of value and wholeness because that's the way God sees us. That's the way I talk to my children. And when I don't talk to my children that way, because I'm so not a perfect mama in any way, should perform, when I catch myself, oh my gosh, I just put him down, like literally. Stop it, blah, 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 blah. I just bluster off. I stop and I reset. I have a that's easy button from Staple. And I reset. And I say, is that okay if I use the button? That's easy. Okay, what I really meant to say was, it's not time for dessert. You gotta finish your meal and then you go get it. But you're not a bad child. You're not weird. You don't always you never listen. Does any mama talk like that? You never listen. Well, guess what? I'm shaming him and I'm casting the spell of shame. And I don't mean to be woo about it. The English word spelling, spells, it is what it is. It's not which. I mean, it is if you want it to be that way. But it is like how you're using the words, the frequency. You're perpetuating the thing that you don't want to have more of it in your life just because you're unaware. So
and
I
a lot
do
of
want.
what I was going to say is that words are impactful.
In every level.
And
the words that you don't say is the frequency that they feel.
Correct.
So Steve, if I'm in communication with you and suddenly you're not giving me eye contact and you're on your phone and I'm literally thinking, what's more important? Not me. He just checked out. You're not saying you're not important, Kenya. That's the vibe I got from you. But you know what? That's not important. It didn't come from Steve, come from my mom ignoring me.
Oh, good point.
So the frequency that you resonate is the frequency that exists in me. Therefore, my inner child, when we're like, I'm not sure if he's a good friend. He's just checked down on me.
So one of the things I want to flush out, because you bring up a good point, is I hear this a lot in my couples counseling. He's just not listening. They don't use the I feel statements. Well, you don't listen. You checked out. You won't do anything. Yeah. And I'm like, how much are we going to be a dripping faucet to somebody with our frequency irritating the other person where they do check out?
Well, in that case, that checkout is protection. Who wants to be minimized over and over and over again in any age?
Right.
No one. No. Especially your partner. You want to be admired and loved and cared for. Now, here's the kicker. When you don't feel that you matter, your voice will never matter. This is why it has nothing to do, ladies. This has nothing to do with your husband. Okay, now you don't understand. Well, maybe I don't know your story, but I know versions of the same story. And by have coached hundreds of people, I can tell you for sure that there's something about you, some part of you that you gave your power away a long time ago. And you might not even know what your power is. Therefore, there is a pattern running the show, which is a pattern of being a victim, pattern of avoidance, having no voice, aches and pains, all of it, which is rooted in trauma.
You bring out a lot of good points here. And when you think about what I heard you say earlier, we give our power away. And I want to backtrack a little bit and put that sentence in there with help women understand how they give their power away. And how did you learn from the trauma that you had to find your voice?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The way I learned was obsession. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired and feeling like, okay, God, if this is life, I'm going to get dark here real quick, Steve. I don't want it. I'm done. Like, take me. And when I said that, are you ready for this? I saw my mom saying that. I saw her because I remember my mom saying the same thing to God when I was 6, 5, 4 years old. Oh, Lord, take me, take me. I don't want to be out of integrity and tell more about my mom that she didn't give me the okay to share. But when I saw the pattern hitting my head, I'm like, that is not me. Why did I even say that? Or going to the gas station and filling up my car for $10. If my bank account is full, why did I do that? Why do I keep doing things? It's like I call myself an autopilot because of the patterns, the frequencies, and the resonance that was running the show. It's like, it's like I built a life that is not mine. But then I don't want to sit here as a victim because I know that I do have power, but have I even ever discovered what is my power? And your power, I'm going to give you the shortcut here. And I will invite every woman that is listening to me to join my mastermind at some point. At some point that allows to you, so we can go deeper. But here's what I can give it to you. The hardcore of who you are. Your power is the love you have for yourself. Where's my power? Can I talk about power? Steve talks about power. It's your love. It's your self-love. It's how you fill up your cup. It's how you honor God in your body. How you feed your body, your soul, and your spirit. That is your power. Oh, wait, no, you don't understand. I don't have time to sleep. I don't have time to eat. Great. Keep running the pattern. Just keep doing it.
To think about the power, communication drives that. What do you think about that? That communication drives that power.
100%. But Steve, the communication is even outside of you. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you. What about me? What am I doing to create? How am I being? What is the, let me tell you this. Ladies, if you resonate, raise your hand. Have you ever been so pissed off, so upset that you start cleaning everything? Don't talk to me, I'm busy. And it's like as more angry and frustrated as then I go victim mode. In the past, if I have been frustrated or angry or feeling victimized, I get myself even more busy in the past. Start cleaning the walls, the washing the carpet, get 2 more extra activity to the kids so you can say you drive them all the time. I am not saying you're doing this conscious. I'm saying that so you can hear in my voice and ask yourself, At which moment of the day, at which time do I do me? Am I honoring me? Because a woman and a man, a human, a child that is living in joy, have healthy communication.
Right.
Because they are feeling happy. If you don't have a healthy communication, you're subconsciously telling that person that your unhappiness is his fault. My unhappiness is her fault.
And that comes within the dialogue within your own self and how you communicate with your soul, your mind, your spirit. And those three are separate: mind, body, and mind, body, soul.
Yes, soul and spirit, right?
Yes. Yes.
Here's the thing. It is separate, but is one.
Yes.
You can't just go meditate and pray and eat McDonald's. You
That's
can't
true.
you can't just go fast and go green juice and be a workaholic. It's the harmonization of all parts of you. Is the non-judgment of all parts of you.
Mhm.
That's why noticing and awareness is not just the first step, but is the drip of gold that takes all parts of who you are, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you do decide, you know what? I have been feeling unhappy. I have been feeling resentful. I haven't been, if I'm going to be very honest, I don't remember ever being happy or whatever it is it for you.
Right.
If I'm being very honest, I'm looking for fulfillment in every place outside of me, in food, in pleasure, in entertainment, in my scrolling on social media, something that would trigger that endorphin. Well, love is the answer, darling. Love is it.
You know, we got about 9 minutes left. How is love communication? We can't see it, but how does love become a frequency so that we have a type of communication, not only for ourselves, but for other people?
How does love become a communication? Love is who you are. When everyone is gone and no one is there and there's nothing to do, if you can put your hand in your heart and really breathe in to the magnetism of your heart, you transform your energetic field. The peace that people talk about, that you feel like that would be nice. It's truly 3 breaths away. And from that point of being grounded and being in your heart, then you activate your mind. It's called heart and brain coherence, but it starts in your heart. And then it magnetizes outside of you. And yes, there's techniques. 100%, Steve. That's why you do what you do. And I do what I do because there's toolbox. There's structured toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
And there is energetic toolbox. Like, what's in my toolbox that I can open up to have more love and more joy? Let's talk about that. The number one thing is to ground yourself. Remember, when we start this podcast, I told you, hey, I have 4 kids in the house and 3 dogs. Everyone is barking and going crazy. I need to ground before
And
we
add
start.
a husband to that.
Yes, add a husband to that. Oh my gosh, I can't forget about him. He's the best. Okay.
Of course.
So literally feet in the ground, spine straight. You can use your hands or not. I really like using my hands. Breathe. Imagine that your fingers are touching God. And when you feel that stretch, you release. And feel like your feet become roots of trees and goes down all the way down to the center of the earth. And when you feel unbendable and grounded, you don't need to lean on anyone else. That's called alignment, body alignment, energetic alignment.
And as you said, McNasty's does not align with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You are what you eat is an expression. And to be fully grounded, it's what are we eating?
That your potato chip will become Steve, or your apple will become Steve. Whatever you eat becomes you, becomes the energy of your body. Not
And
to mention nutrition.
Right. And that's a different podcast because
completely,
food causes a histamine reaction within your body that sometimes we're not aware. And so when we think about anxiety and things like that, that all comes into play. And so to get back to where we were on communication, for you as a female, what is the most important aspect for you about communication?
how I communicate with myself. Hands down.
Okay.
Especially when I am unkind to other people and I catch myself, can I be non-judgment of me when I just call myself being unaware and dropping my frequency?
And men the same way.
But listen, it usually is with my husband or my kids. And I want to be very clear here that I clean up as soon as it happens because I have trained myself to clean up. And when I want to hold a grudge, I have a terrible day. I have a terrible hour. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I go to my husband and I communicate things like I use the technique I, and it works 100% for me because I is my experience of what just happened.
Yes.
I is always how I felt. My experience of this event, husband, is that I felt lonely. I felt not seen. I felt that you were checked out. I felt that I didn't matter. I felt all the things I felt. My experience was. That is a technique. And then I give space. And then I give space and I say, even though, but by the way, my husband is also trained, so he would just meet me right in the middle. But let's say that your husband is not trained, and you say, even though you probably don't see how I see it, even though you're not apologizing, I forgive you, and I forgive myself. Because I want to hear myself saying those words out loud for me.
Yes. And it's important to do that. And in about the 3 minutes that we have left, I do want to explain to men, you have to love yourself first before you could create a safe place for a woman to land. Because
huge.
When I love who I am, I create a safe place for that woman to land. When I don't address my hurts, when I don't address my trauma, and I play victim, I don't hold a safe place because my communication becomes reactive. The woman may be innocent in how she communicates, but sometimes a man can be reactive about making it about himself. And it comes from that language when we're growing up that we're not good enough.
Yes.
You know,
so what I hear saying, Steve, is that if the man is not grounded, if the man is spinning, a woman cannot land in his arms, which is where she craves. If a man is not solid and present, the women will not come because we want to feel safe. It's the human need of the female structure, just the way we have been designed. If we don't feel safe, we will be in avoidance. We will be hidden. We might come, but we'll come with layers of protection, which is not presence. There's no real interaction.
And a shutdown of communication.
Shutdown.
And everything else. And we're running out of time, but that is a great podcast to talk about. Is how can men and women create safe place for each other.
They gotta be doing themselves.
There you go.
They gotta be doing themselves. The man has to, the masculine, let's call the masculine. The masculine needs to see himself as a whole and not himself as wounded or broken. Because if you see yourself as wounded and broken, and I do want to say this because it's gorgeous, you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. As a matter of fact, you are a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. So just as you are tonight, it's as easy as intention. Intention shifts everything. I'm asking, I'm grounded, I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready for you. I want you. I don't know how I don't know how you can forgive me. I don't know how to open up this communication, but I want you, and I want to invite you to be present with me now.
Thank you.
I wonder how it would change everything.
I love the masterpiece, and we're going to leave the audience with that they're a masterpiece, so they can come back next week and learn how to choose different paints and brushes to continue painting a beautiful masterpiece of their life. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. God bless.
God bless.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope to have you back next week. Until then, be safe and be kind.